Good morning. This is Jason Moss, the Manufacturing News Network and the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance. We're really excited about our call today, and it is April the 30th. And this call is really about how we as an industry and organization are going to be working together to help share best practices on our next phase of dealing with the coronavirus and how it's impacting the manufacturing world. And so this is our relaunch and retool call, and we've gathered a variety of industry leaders and thought leaders that are going to be sharing some concepts and ideas about what's going on in their business. It's a very very open dialogue today, and I'm thrilled that we're going to be able to again kind of share some of the things that are going on in the space. I think there's some we can always learn from each other, and if we're committed to be able to do that. So I'm gonna open this call up. We're going to do things a little bit different than we've done in the past. I want to share a screen real quick. One of the things that I want to do is make sure that we always acknowledge and appreciate the folks that help us do what we do every day. So this is the our want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. These are the folks. For those of you that are not familiar with GMA, we got some brand new people that are plugging into this. You don't have to be a member to plug into these calls, but as an organization, we're a for-profit industry association. We survive completely through memberships and sponsorships. We don't have any tax dollars involved in what we do. We don't do any lobbying either. So we really listen to the voice of the manufacturer, and we're here to commit to help support those. And from the developer sponsors, that the developer sponsors are pretty engaged in our world. All of these sponsors help us do what we do every day. And I do want to do a quick shout out to Taylor English Duma. These guys have been super active in supporting us and bringing some insights on the legal aspects and what's going on in business. So as well as Costanzi Brooks, our knowledge has been pretty engaged as well. And both Southwire and E2E Resources have brought information specific to manufacturers in the space. So with that being said, I'm going to flip back over and stop the share, and we'll get back into the regular view mode. And so again, we want to thank our sponsors for doing that. If we are actually growing our membership a little bit, not nearly at the rate that we were accustomed to, but we're thankful for all of our new members that are joining and getting involved in GMA. I think this is a unique time. We as an organization, we've been doing some soul searching and reflecting about what we're doing now and what we've done in the past, and how we can best serve the manufacturing community. And every day we're evaluating: are we doing everything that we can? Are we doing the right stuff? What we're doing making an impact? Because we're evaluating, and making sure that we're bringing the best we can. We rely on you to give us feedback and input on things that we might could be doing better. Man, I'm thrilled about some really cool stuff that we're going to be announced on this call. But we're always looking, and over this past week, I really have been digging back into when I started this organization 12 and a half years ago. If you think about the date, so let's do the math back. In 2008, we launched this organization, right? Y'all remember what was going on in 2008? I know I did. And so it was really challenging economic times. There's some similarities. There's some differences. Of course, it wasn't a global pandemic, but the economy globally was melting down, and we were having to figure out new ways to do things, right? I mean, a lot of the manufacturers that came on board initially with GMA, it's the first time, for the first 2 years of GMA, we were spending our time teaching people, manufacturers specifically, how to do elevator pitches. A lot of these guys been in business 20, 30 years and never stood up in front of a room and said what they did, because they didn't have to, because manufacturers were just manufacturers and they didn't have to market. They had to learn new ways to do it. So we're looking back and leaning back on some of the things that founded our organization. And there's two ways to play. You can play to win, or you can play not to lose, right? I mean, you can just try to maintain and survive and put everything back in the box. Well, we've got a different box going forward, and so we're really excited about we're taking a charge and playing to win, and we're playing to be able to put tools and resources in your hands so that you can be more successful. And this is one of them. key component. This call, this specific call, is the relaunch and retool call that we're doing today. And again, with the mindset of sharing best practices. The folks that are on this call, I know most of you folks, and everybody's in a little bit different spot. You know, no two manufacturers that I've ever met are exactly the same. You got different challenges, you've got different opportunities. And so we're going, some of this stuff may fit and some of it may not. So I just want you to kind of go into it with how can you use the information you gather here and maybe retool it for your for your opportunity. And when you have wins, we need to hear them. And when you have other than wins, I mean, when you have brutal failures, be okay and be transparent and be able to share with us. If you try something that doesn't work and you can help somebody else avoid a landmine, this is the place. This is the format that we can share those in a trusted environment so that we can just really talk to each other. So again, that's the game plan for the day. This call is really going to be lined up for about the next 10, 15 minutes. We're going to talk to one of our great members and good friends, and we're going to talk a little bit about where they're at in their business and what they're doing going forward. And then we're going to open it up and have, kind of a Q&A to chat, as well as we're going to announce kind of towards the end, we're going to announce an opportunity for you guys to get even more involved. And I'm really stoked about a possibility for a program that could be beneficial for manufacturers going long term, and we'll kind of hold that towards the end. But with that being said, I want to introduce you to a great friend of mine and a solid business leader in the manufacturing space, a thought leader in this world, and Holly Gottfredson with American Metal Crafts. Again, she's been a great GMA partner, a member. She's one of those people that I go to pick her brain to find out what's going on in the space. And each of us are in different, industries and different parts of the manufacturing space. And Holly's business is booming right now. I mean, they're having some great success. They haven't had to go through the shutdown. And I don't want to take Holly's, take the thunder from Holly's conversation, but the things that we're going to talk about, we did a little bit of pre-call chat, is sort of what's going on in your space. What's your head count, what's your, your sales kind of thing, and what's your forecast. What are, and Holly, if you would kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit, for those that don't know you yet, tell us about your company, what you bring to the table, and then we'll kind of go from there. How about that?
Okay, sounds good. Well, hey everybody, I'm Holly Gottfredson. I'm the owner and president of American Metal Craft and vice president of our sister company, Finishing Dynamics. We're in the construction space and manufacturing. We're a metal manufacturer, and so we do products like metal panel wall systems, brake metal, column covers, sunshades, louvers, perforated panels, ornamental metal, custom exterior. We have projects that range from casinos to hospitals to hotels, corporate headquarters. We're nationwide. We've been around since 1986. The company, American Metal Craft, was founded by my father-in-law in 1986, and our sister company was founded in 2004. We're a family-owned business on both sides of the tracks. Mm-hmm. And, this has been an interesting time for us. What we've done to kind of, get ahead of and try to manage in the world of COVID, we were considered an essential business by Georgia, so we were able to continue production, and we totally moved our front office remotely in a week. Wow. And that was definitely a challenge. Yeah, it was kind of like, gosh, this thing's getting bigger than everybody thought. We've got to act quickly. So we have, we've got a great group of folks that have worked for us for a long time. We have a lot of long-term employees, and two of our guys put their heads together, and within 3 days had everybody on Microsoft Teams. Mm-hmm. Everybody was able to work remotely with very little interruption. So we were really thankful for that. As far as production goes, we did see some delays in some projects, and then other projects escalated. Obviously, hospital projects that we had working that were kind of scheduled for down the road got moved up to the front of the line. So we have definitely seen some ebb and flow. but we are thankful to continue to take orders and quote work and continue on our way. In production, we are obviously following CDC guidelines. That slows down production just a little bit because we've got to take those extra steps to be cautious, but would rather be safe than sorry, and keep everybody safe at work and have a safe work environment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Have you guys had any active cases that have, or had anybody in the community? I know you're on West Georgia side, so
Right.
tell us a little bit about your area and what you guys have seen in the community and stuff.
I have several employees that their spouses work in healthcare, and they have quarantined themselves away from their family. I know that Tanner Medical is kind of our hospital hub near the production facility, and they have had cases. I wouldn't say a lot, but they have definitely seen some cases. I think there was a cluster right around week 3. And then things started to come down a little bit. But we haven't had any cases, knock on wood, as far as our team goes. I know they know people, friends of friends, where somebody in the extended family has been directly affected by somebody having it. But overall, that's about it.
Yeah, well, we've had several. That's very fortunate. We love to hear that report, but we've had several GMA members that have had active cases in their facility, and that changes the game. Like the minute that goes live, there's a protocol and there's a process that you have to go through for cleaning and notification and quarantine and all the bits and pieces. That definitely, like I said, it changes the game when it goes live. So you got to be, if you guys hadn't got your I would assume everybody in here has already got all that stuff nailed down, but if you hadn't, you need to make sure that you've got your action plan in the event something happens. What do you do? How do you do it? Again, I'm not an HR. I'll never be an HR guy because it just doesn't work in my space. But there's certain lots of laws and regulations that you got to go by as it relates to that. And if somebody tests positive, you can't call the name of the person. You got to make sure that you keep everything. The HIPAA regulations are just insane, the things that you got to do. And what we've seen is these companies have basically shut down divisions or departments, right? And then quarantined those departments and done deep cleaning and brought in outside cleaning pros to disinfect, and then and slowly ramp those back up. So it's been really interesting going through this process to see how companies respond to the challenge and how they prepare for the challenges that are ahead. We're not out of the woods yet, I don't think. I wish we were, but I think we got a little ways to go yet. But being prepared for that, what's the next step and how you can address it quickly and properly to keep your people safe. So thankfully, glad to hear that you guys have not had any yet. If you do, and all the companies that I've talked to so far have been able to recover relatively quickly without significant impact in their business because they had a plan in place so that they could kind of roll through that. Now, what about, you said that you guys went remote in the office side. How does that look? I mean, so you're using Office Teams. Are you a huge fan of Teams now?
Honestly, it's mainly for all the staff that is part of production, our account managers and our quoting, those types of front office functions like project management. I have a cloud system that is separate from that I'm working on, that hosts all of our accounting software, all of our financial tasks, which kind of falls under me. And so that I've been using that system for about 5 years. So I continue to access that. And then if they ever need me to access the team site, I do have a login where I can go in and work with them. Thus far, they haven't needed me, which is great.
That's what you want.
So yeah. But it seems like everybody's adjusting, especially for our folks that have young children and have families with school being out. it kind of all coincided all at once where we went remote and then all of a sudden they had canceled school for the rest of the year. So I think it was good that they were able to continue to work from home as well as spend time with their families and help with homeschooling their children through this time. So I'm really thankful for technology in the times that we're living in, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So you're beginning to love Zoom, like tons of Zoom love, right?
Yeah, I love the backgrounds. I've had a lot of fun with those. I picked a Stormy background for today, but I had Pee-wee's Playhouse on one other time.
I love it. I love it. We got to have fun with it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so we've talked a little bit about what's going on in your space, in your active daily life and in business, and using the new tools. And now, so you think you're going to be bringing the remote office back in soon? Have you got kind of a forecast on that?
Right now, we're cautiously optimistic, just to be sure that we are keeping production as safe as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to continue to work front offices remotely through the end of May.
Okay.
And then we'll assess at the end of May if we need to go further with it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope and pray that won't be the case, but if it is, then we'll go ahead. We've got the tools to do it, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing until we feel like it's okay for us to return to our normal office environment.
Right. I got that. Well, one of the things I'm very grateful for is that I don't own a bunch of office properties, office space right now, because I got a feeling that as many people are comfortable with this, the demand for office space is going to drop dramatically, and the opportunity for work from home for people is going to be through the roof for quite a while. So, I think that we've grown accustomed and comfortable with using technology, being forced into it. Up until the end of February, we had never done a webinar in GMA. Ever. Everything's live face to face. And we had to, like you guys, shift, like this is the day that we had to shift everything in our business virtual. It has worked. It's not been real fun, but we've been able to pull it off. So now one of the other things is so forecasting, bringing the folks back in maybe at the end of May. Governor Kemp has got to make, is going to be making the decision whether he's going to extend the shelter in place for Georgia. The day's the day. One of the things I will encourage everybody to do is to pray for our leaders, because right now this is a tough time for these folks, man. I'm thankful that I don't have to make the decisions that these folks have had to make, both in our local and our, in Lawrenceville and Gwinnett County and Georgia and the U.S. I mean, these decisions impact people, and I know that they don't take them lightly. I mean, they're just not, and some of them are making decisions that I don't exactly align with. Some of them I don't align with at all, and some of them I'm thrilled with, But regardless, I think that it's our job is to support our leaders as best we can, and follow the guidance that's given to them. And again, just keep them in prayer. I mean, that's the only thing I know to do is hope that they're making the right decisions for the right reasons. And that's the reason we elected them, hopefully that they have the capability to do that and support them in that way. Cause it's tough enough to make those decisions, and getting pushed back in every direction is tough, because guaranteed it's going to upset half of the community either way. So, but one of the things that I did want to just chat with you a little bit about is going forward. Okay. So next steps, you've already got social distancing working in your facility. There's going to be some good ideas. If you got any pictures of things that you think that might be helpful to share, feel free to shoot those over to me and we'll share them with the group. But what are you guys seeing as far as going forward with orders? I mean, in the architectural metals space, what are you seeing going forward? What's the vibe in the architectural community and in the building and construction community? What do you see there? What's your expectations for the next quarter and next year?
For us right now, in this moment of, I'd say over the last 4 to 8 weeks, with all this going on, we've had those conversations with our suppliers and some of our customers where they have had some layoffs, not to a huge degree, but it's definitely affected them. Long term, I don't know what that's going to look like. Right now, we're seeing orders, we're seeing quotes, we're seeing projects kind of proceeding as normal. I have talked to a few of my architect contacts, and they're kind of a mixed bag as well, kind of like us, where they've seen some projects are delayed or being put on hold, future projects, and then other projects that were in process, they're moving along. So I think it's just going to be kind of a balancing act. I think we're going to continue to see growth in the economy once we get through this in the next 5 to 6 months. Hopefully we'll have that curve flattened. We'll have a vaccine or at least something out there that makes people feel more comfortable to kind of return to normal life. And I think with less uncertainty in the market, that's going to help construction projects, architectural planners, city and county planners kind of get a lay of the land and know how to move forward.
Right. Right. And you mentioned that. I love that you kind of brought that up, because all of these pieces are connected in the manufacturing space. I mean, you as a direct manufacturer, but the architects and the builders and the planners, I mean, those all play a part right now. And what are you seeing as far as, companies? I mean, have you seen anybody shuttered that you don't expect to come back? I mean, what's the vibe with the architects and the builders? Are you seeing people taking advantage of the PPP and the stimulus programs to stay afloat, to be able to, maintain? I know in construction, I believe has been deemed essential across Georgia and has been all the way through. Every construction project I've seen in Gwinnett County is still wide open. So tell us a little bit about what you see there in that space.
I think even though, like you said, construction is essential business, I think people are being cautious.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's no end date, or there's not really a certain timeline as to when this thing is going to let up, some companies are definitely trying to take advantage of those government aid programs just to be on the safe side. If this winds up going on for the next 12 months, even companies that were very strong and doing very well are definitely going to be negatively impacted. So I think some folks are applying for those things to kind of plan for all contingencies.
Mm-hmm.
I know that AIA has encouraged, with the second wave of stimulus, they've encouraged architecture firms to try and take advantage of those grants and that emergency funding. Again, just to be on the safe side, just to make sure they've got everybody covered so that they can continue to work and manage this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody's got a different risk tolerance, and I've been very transparent with all the GMA community from the very beginning on where we're going. I believe, the transparency, I think there's probably a little bit of bad in it, but I think there's way more good in it for us to be able to share with you guys what we're going through and what we're experiencing, because, we're going to just tell you like it is. We applied. I was hesitant about doing anything, any kind of government assistance, because we built a little rainy day fund, not a big one, but we got a little runway, and I was real hesitant about doing anything in that space. But I talked with several of my coaches and business advisors and people that I seek counsel with, and across the board, everybody that I talked to said that they'd evaluated it. They've seen it in their business. They recommended strongly that we apply, for PPP, because we're office, 4 full-time people. And they said, not that you're planning to, and not that you don't have a rainy day set aside. We don't know when this is going to end. And it makes sense to be able to prepare to continue to be able to, if you want to be able to continue to serve your community, you got to stay in business. And if there's, resources that are available that make sense to do, don't go, get any big loans, but, if there's resources available, you might as well take advantage of them, because there are people that are, that are really evaluating. They wouldn't make these things available if they didn't have some insight that this thing could go on longer than a month or two, which is what my initial thought was. A couple months will be good, right? We don't know. So we applied early. We were blessed to get approved and get funded, and I'm thankful for that, because that gives us a little bit of a breather to make some decisions and to be able to continue at the level that we've at the level of service that we've been accustomed to. So we're excited about that. I know that a lot of people have applied that didn't get it and are very frustrated, and if nobody that has received it, then you start to wonder, is that a real program? Does it really work? So I'm here to tell you that it does work, and I'm excited about that. We'll see how this second round goes, and hopefully those folks that have applied for it get approved and get funded, because if you've gone through the process, I don't think anybody's taking that too lightly. I know I didn't to even make that decision. So Holly, thank you so much for being a part of the call today and sharing your insights. And what I'd like to do is kind of open this call up for a couple minutes and kind of open it up for Q&A. So if you've got any questions, feel free, you can unmute your line and ask the question directly, or feel free to drop it over in the chat box. So who's got the first question?
Thanks very much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate it. It's always great to be a part of GMA.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sounds like a slogan or something.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. All right, cool. Who's got the?
Well, I'll throw out, I was going to interrupt you. You were talking about retail space or commercial space. And obviously there are multiple, love your sticker on the bottom of your cup, by the way, Jason.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of folks who were planning on enlarging their office space, that with this pandemic and the use of Zoom and virtual offices have made them rethink their need to expand and maybe even think about contraction.
Yep.
And then you couple that with retail, and they're talking about vacancy could easily expand from the current 5% or so up to 45% as companies go out and they don't come back and things like that. So it's going to be, you're absolutely right. It's going to be a potentially brutal time for commercial real estate, or a great opportunity for commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of retooling, and again, when we launched GMA, looking back, kind of using that as a yardstick, looking back at 2008. I mean, if you guys were in business, it was, as a homeowner, as a business owner, everybody was freaking out, man. Are we ever going to be able to survive this? And some companies shuttered. I mean, I know several manufacturing companies said, we're not in, we're done, we're taking our cookies and we're going home. We were getting ready to sell anyway. We're just going to close it up. And instead of dragging it out, we're just done. They were ready for retirement, and that's cool. That's their choice. But several companies, I believe that we as GMA would never have had the opportunity for our organization to launch and to grow in any other community. Gwinnett County's the hub in manufacturing at any other time, because manufacturers never needed a network before, and we gave them a platform, right? And there was a need and an opportunity, and it was a perfect alignment to be able to start this business in the worst economic time in the world, right? The same thing on this side is how can we, through this tough time, how can we better serve? Now we have 350 companies that represent about 110,000 employees across the state of Georgia. We could hunker down and say, well, we're only going to wait till everything's safe to go outside and play again, or we can try to figure out new ways and new tools to use to better serve the space. So it's all in a choice. I mean, I think it's a personal choice, and deciding which path you want to take. And we've chosen to, we're go big, go home. We're going to figure this thing out. And hopefully none of us really know what the next step is. We don't know if we're done in a few months. I pray that that's the result. But if we get another resurgence and, later in the year, then it kind of changes the game a little bit. But either way, I believe that we're stronger by working together. So that's what these calls and this organization is about, is giving you guys a platform to kind of share some of those things.
Jason, just a comment to follow up on what Doug mentioned. On office space, one of the things that we haven't considered yet is density of personnel.
Okay.
Same office space that you had when you had 100 people in it. Now you may want to just limit that to 50, which means you now need additional space for the remaining 50 people that used to sit within 3 feet of each other.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point.
And I think of that at the airport. When things come back and we travel.
Oh,
and you look at social distancing. And I think a lot of us have been at the airport during busy times when the line snakes around the baggage claim area.
And you're heel to toe, buddy. Yeah.
And now if you're looking at 6 feet apart, you're going to be in long-term parking.
You're gonna be slapped to Alabama, man.
So how do people deal with that? Because now density of people becomes, I think, the driver to office space as much as anything.
Well, it's everything. It's not, office space is a great point, and I appreciate that for sure. Several of the manufacturers I've been talking to, what they've done is they've split their shift. They got half the team coming in 3 days. I mean, they're staggering shifts, they're staggering days to keep the. President Trump did say that social distancing from their guidelines on a national level, they're not going to continue the social distancing mandate on a national level because he's passing that to the states for them to manage that appropriately. I know that we've got the summit coming up. We're expecting to have, our target was to have 1,000 people at the summit. We're still expecting to have 1,000 people, but we believe that about half of those are going to be virtual because we're going to have a virtual offering for people that either don't feel comfortable being in a large crowd in September the 15th, or they are interested in being able to access that virtually. So we're going to give an opportunity for people to come live if they want to come show up and shake hands and connect. But the reality is imagine the trade show industry as a whole. So I was talking to Cobb Galleria, that's where we're hosting our event, and they said that they've got a bridal show May the 15th and 16th, their biggest show of the year. And I'm like, how are you going to have a trade show? Are you going to stand at the hall and just holler at folks with a mask on? I mean, I don't understand with the guy now. So things are going to have to change. We have to figure that new regulations and how we're going to manage going forward. So that's part of why we're doing this, is to sort of talk about it. One of the other pieces that I was looking at is hotel rooms. I mean, it's not just we're going to change the sheets and throw some new towels in. I mean, think about, that's like pretty engaged cleaning, or you're going to have to go through. So the hotel industry, when they're given the go ahead to be able to book people, they're going to have to go through some of that. So all of that to say, and I will circle that back around to this little project that we've been talking about. I'm really, really excited to have Justin Hughes on the line with us today. He's a new member of GMA, and he's come to the table. He's positioned some great ideas. I've been able to dig in with him to talk about the game plan going forward. Some of the options that we have is how can we as manufacturers with confidence communicate with other manufacturers and people in the supply chain that we have followed a basic level of sanitation and security and screening, so that you're comfortable working both upstream and downstream in your supply chain. You see what I'm saying? I mean, so all the way from the raw materials, through the manufacturing, through the shipping, to the retail, to the customer, right? So all of those levels, if you've got some contamination in any of those levels, it can contaminate the entire supply chain, right? So Justin, and he's in the shipping world. I'm bringing him on, let him share a little bit about his vision. And so my goal is to ask some questions around that. What does that look like? How can we work together? Before I do that, I'm gonna hop in here, and I've got a quick poll. Actually, I have two sets of poll questions. I'm gonna throw the first polling question is impact. 3 simple questions. And I'd like for you guys each to answer these and let me know kind of where you guys are at. So did the poll show up? Everybody give me a thumbs up if it showed up. All right, cool. Just answer these the best you can. We will share the poll results at the very end. They say I can, but we'll see. I will share the poll results in the show notes afterwards if there's any hiccup with this. So we'll give this just a couple minutes more, make sure everybody has the opportunity to share. All right. Okay. Stand by.
Hey, Jason.
Yes.
I asked Holly a question, and maybe we can give her an opportunity to reply to that.
Cool.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Does everybody have a chance to answer? Going once, twice. Looks like, okay, we'll go to end the poll now. So thank you all for giving me live data that we can, okay. It looks like I can share the results now. I don't know how that works. Tell me how that works. Do you guys get that? You can see the results. Interesting. Employee counts the same, loss of revenues, and no change in your overall company work schedule. Cool. Interesting. Okay. You got that? Everybody got it? Hopefully we can fix that lost revenue piece, and we're going to do our part to make that happen. Okay. We got one more quick poll. Hold on a second. Close.
While you're doing the poll, Jason, did you want me to go ahead and answer?
Yes,
the
please.
question?
That would be great.
Okay. So the question was what we had been doing differently to what steps have we taken on the floor to protect employees, what worked best and what did not work so well, and if we were participating in trade shows. What we're doing on the plant floor, one of the unique things about our business is because we're a paint line, we have PPE already in place for what we do.
Okay.
So before COVID, during and after, our guys wear face masks, our guys wear safety glasses, and those folks that are in the paint booth wear Tyvek protective suits. The one thing that we had to do is we have different departments that work closely together, racking and packing, welding, etc. So we kind of reconfigured those areas so that we had social distancing. We, took a few people from that packing area and put them in the prep area to make sure that we had less people in groups around these different areas. We are following CDC guidelines. As I mentioned, we've got the whole front office working remotely, just to make sure exposure is at the lowest that it can possibly be. And we've also asked our folks just to work with us and keep their trips outside of work to minimum essential trips, if possible, if at all possible. And those things have worked pretty well. As far as things that haven't worked, this is so new. I don't have any data on that. So far, everything we're doing is working well. I mean, we haven't had any positive cases, knock on wood. So that's been good. As far as trade shows go, we have one show scheduled at the end of November. So I'm hoping that we'll be out of this by then and we can kind of resume as normal. But I do know that AIA canceled their large Las Vegas convention that was, I think, supposed to be in June, and they just went ahead and canceled it. And I think they're going to be doing some virtual online type things in place of that.
Well, that was a perfect lead into the next poll. So we got 3 quick questions for the poll.
Okay.
If you guys would share, give us a little bit of feedback on this. The first question is, when will you feel comfortable attending or exhibiting at an industry trade show? That is a self-serving question. I will be totally honest with you. I need to know where you guys are at comfort level, right? So just pick a month, whichever month you feel that you'll be most comfortable showing up to a trade show, right? An industry trade show. The second question is, what's the status of your business travel for your company? Regular place starting soon, essential travel only, emergency only, or all travels canceled through 2020. And we're hearing some of that everything's just off the radar for some of those. And then the last question is what tools for marketing will you be using to balance in 2020? Pick as many of those as you feel comfortable with. What do you see? What do you think you're going to be using? We do have a directory that's scheduled for July, just so you know that the conversation in with our advisory board is we're looking at maybe delaying that by a quarter for delivery to come out in October, because I know marketing budgets right now are a little bit tight for people making decisions right now. So that might give us a little bit of a ramp to be able to keep the directory, but just delay that and do that in October and March rather than January and July. So, all right, good deal. We got 15 to 17. Please finish voting. We'd appreciate that. Going once, going twice. All right. Wow, there's a lot more unsure than I was thinking, but we're good. I will share the results now. So check it out. June, July, August, and September gets the majority of GMA folks that are on the line. And then we got, 33% that are unsure. And I completely get that, guys. I mean, what does a trade show look like? I mean, there's so many ways that you can ask that question and qualify it. What does a trade show look like? Is everybody going to have to be wearing masks? Is there going to be social distancing? I mean, there's a variety of different things. Essential travel should be starting soon. That's cool. Nobody said it was canceled through the end of the year. Okay, and then print media. One of the reasons that I asked this question is the trade show industry tells us that in Q1 and Q2, there's $145 billion of sales that are either canceled or delayed due to the lack of trade shows in the U.S. $145 billion in sales. Some of you guys do a lot of trade shows, right? And if you're not doing your sales through trade shows, how are you going to be doing your sales, right? So we got to figure out new ways to do that. And if we can help with that, we want to help you be more successful. Okay, so everybody got a chance to look at the results. Everybody good? Go once, going twice, stop share. All right. Fantastic. Okay, so it looks like the polls work. We'll see if they end up in the show notes. But they will one way or the other. So thank you for that. So with that, what I want to do is I want to kind of shift back over to the conversation that we had started with Justin about doing some way to, as an industry, put together some kind of certification process for all the steps along the supply chain. So Justin, I'm going to kind of bring you in and have you share a little bit about your vision and your concern, kind of where we've been talking about this.
All right. Thank you, sir, for having me.
And tell your company and your role there and what you guys do as well. So those that don't know.
Okay. My name is Justin Hughes. I'm the managing member at Diesel Grid. We're a freight transportation provider for local around Atlanta. We do about an 80-mile around Atlanta, and then we'll do up to 150 miles from Atlanta, kind of outsourcing Birmingham, Greenville, Chattanooga, surrounding cities. But when we look at everything that happened, what was the glaring issue is we've never ever faced a global shutdown. So there's no help out there. So if you lose any of your suppliers or vendors, it's just, if you don't have a relationship in place as a redundancy level, then you're effectively shut down.
Right.
There's not outside source coming to help us. So
Right.
When you look at that, we want to learn from our mistakes, and we want to prevent that from ever happening again. That's always our goal.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do that, I think there's two ways to look at this. I think that we have to, as a state of Georgia, we need to be self-sufficient, and we need to be able to look at our community and depend on each other and not depend on somebody else. I like I like to revert back to I think America's approach on oil, though. I think they used up everyone else's first and kind of held on to theirs as long as possible. We effectively did give them a lot of money, though, during that process. But if you played your game right at the end of it, we would essentially get all that money back because we would be the last people with oil. So when we talk about raw materials and stuff, we also have to include renewable resources to try to make our state. We don't want to run our state dry of all the supplies and materials. We would like to outsource that, but when it comes down to this type of situation, we want to have something in place that keeps our community safe. So that's really the big thinking of this, and allowing everyone in our network to have the odds to be successful, and to ensure that we all are following those odds to be successful. Because if somebody does fail, we all fail essentially. And that's part of our business model at Diesel Grid. Our success is your success, and your success is our success. And we've always followed that, and we've been successful following that. So, we just want to look at that and break it down into each aspect, and really just form a committee and a group and get everybody's aspect, because we all have different observations from our point of the supply chain. And if we can get all this together with, codes of conduct, we can ensure that. Just trying to look over some of my notes.
Yeah, so I think kind of as a foundational conversation that if we as an organization can become possibly a certifying body for all the steps in the supply chain to verify companies are actively following the CDC guidelines, or maybe have a list of these are the top 20 things that if you want to be part of this retooling of Georgia or the relaunching of Georgia in the supply chain, that you agree to abide by these, these simple policies, and we can have some folks that can kind of come check and make sure, you kind of following some of the guidelines. We're not a governmental agency. I mean, we're not into that, but if you are able to, with more confidence, Justin's got a vested interest. I mean, he's got live drivers that are showing up to a bunch of different places, right? I mean, we got to love our drivers. We got to love our, shipping folks. We got to make sure that we keep those guys as safe as possible. And if they know that they've got, they're going to bump Docs over at Holly's to pick up material, if she's got a little sticker on the window that says, certified safe, certified safe shipper or something, I don't know, or partner. I don't know what that looks like, but right now there's no certifying body, or there's no confidence about how, if people are using, PPE, if they're adopting any of the CDC guidelines in their production. Most of them should be. So this should be a shoe in for 90% of the folks. But I think it'd be a really neat tool to be able to offer members. And so what we're talking about doing today is we don't know what that's going to look like for sure, but we just wanted to pitch it out to the folks that are on this call to see if you are interested in exploring this in a more engaged conversation, so that you can have an input on whether we do it, number one, and if we do it, how are we going to structure it, and what does that look like for each person in the supply chain? Does that make sense? So a shipper's got a unique set of challenges, even HR, and staffing, that's a different conversation. Manufacturers, what does that look like? So, is there a demand for it? And if so, do you want to have a voice in laying out those guidelines and those, that structure around it? So what I'd like everybody to do is, so what we're talking about is building a relaunch or retool committee so that we can put together possibly some type of certification and in that. So my question is, it's a yes or a no. Are you interested in plugging into and being part of a future call within the next week or so to discuss this further and being possibly part of the committee to make this happen? So if everybody just hop over on the chat box real quick, yes or no. I didn't have an opportunity to put a poll question in that, but if you want to be part of it, just say yes. If you don't want to be part of it, that's cool. No big deal. I just want to get a feel for the interest in this. So perfect. Got lots of folks putting numbers in. All right. And so I'll pitch this back over to you, Justin, as well. Because I know, you come to the table bringing a certain, with a certain vantage point from a shipper. From what we talked about, I know that, playing the telephone game, you open up with one conversation and it ends up being something totally different when it gets to the end of the deal. But with that, I'd like to have you kind of backfill and maybe, give us some insights on what you're thinking from here.
Yeah. So, it all started with the COVID and not, reducing basically connectivity. And it relates to some other stuff that we talked about that I won't get into very much detail, but there's things called known shipments. It's basically that somebody has eyeballs on this at all times, and that it's understood and trusted that it's safe. And So you take that same concept and apply it to COVID, or apply it to all aspects of our business. Because, you know, there's, like you said, HR, financials, there's all kinds of aspects to our business. But if you can take that to where it's known and trusted, and that we're essentially stacking the odds to be successful in our favor, when everybody follows these guidelines that we would create as a group, we can just trust ourselves. And, you know, when we look at what's happening right now, there's no normalcy and everyone's not knowing what's going on. But if we knew that all of our providers from the beginning to the end were safe and secure, and that they're not going to all of a sudden shut down because they had a COVID infestation, or any other form of infestation, doesn't have to be disease related, we can be successful and not have to lie awake at night worrying about what is going to happen. Is so and so going to do their part of the bargain? You know,
Right.
And I
Yeah.
use my example with my company. As big as Walmart is, we bring stuff to them, but if they were infested, we won't be bringing anything to them, and that's a huge part of our business. So I mean, it really affects everybody. No one's too big, you know, no one's too little to be, I think, to be a part of this.
Right. And that's the thing, is I think that if we can help build some security and comfort and in the supply chain, that'll help us all be prepared for this next step. Because I promise you, in 2008, 2009, as things were ramping back up 11 and 12, as manufacturers were gearing back up to get things going again, they were reaching out to that old trusty supply chain that they've been reaching out to for years, and they found that there were some missing links. And then having as manufacturing, having to go backfill those missing links. All it takes, I mean, the most important part of a car, we talked about this yesterday. You know, I ask people all the time, what's the most important part of a car? People say, well, it's the brakes. Some people say it's the engine. Some people say it's the seat. You know, maybe it's the steering wheel. You know, some think it's the radio. My son thinks it's the radio, obviously. But the most important part of a car is the pieces missing, because you can't build a car with something missing, and you can't build your products with something missing. So if we don't have security and comfort and that we know that the supply chain's there, it's going to be really hard to ramp this stuff back up. So this gives us, again, an opportunity to have more faith and confidence in our supply chain if we've got this working together. I believe it's a great opportunity. You know, I mean, sometimes when you get lemons, you make lemonade, and sometimes you make margaritas, and you know, tomorrow we're going to be making margaritas. but we're going to figure this thing out together. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you all so much for giving us an input on how this thing, your interest level. There's been some questions about, is this like ISO? Yeah, it could be like ISO super light, right? I mean, we don't want to be a burdensome government-ish or regulations that would be restrictive for manufacturers, for sure. We don't want to add any burden. What we want to do is we just want to add some confidence to what's going on, you know, and so that's kind of the game. The cost, you know, I really don't know what the cost is going to be. I mean, and again, being very candid, for us to be able to set this up, our revenue model has changed 100%. Understand that we are a live events organization, and we don't have any live events. I am thankful to say we have several that are scheduled for June. We're waiting. Our plan is to go back live June 1st with plant tours and networking events. That is our target. We got several that we're waiting on early in the month in June. But I do want to let you know that we just got confirmation on the 26th. Our first official that we've got on the books is the 26th. The Nice Signs has opened up. We've had them on the books for several months, and they're the first ones to step back up and say that they're back on. So we have our first plant tour scheduled back. So we're back in business June 26th.
Yay.
So we're going to get off of the volunteer roles for forever. But we're looking for other facilities. If you are open to have people, and we're going to be cognizant of, you know, the regulations. If you want us to wear masks, we're all about wearing masks. We can limit it to 10. We just want to get back to back in the swing of things, you know, because sharing these best practices and building our network and supporting each other, that's what we're here for. And we need to be able to do that, through the vehicle that we've already, we've put in place. All of that to say, I'm thankful we got our first tour officially booked, more than I can say. So that for me, that turned the corner, right? So usually what we do is we go around the room and we ask everybody to give their input on what their favorite part is. We don't have time to do that because there's just so much data that we talked about. I want everybody to look this way real quick. Everybody look, if you got a camera, please turn it on quickly. Turn on your camera if you got one. And if you don't got one, that's okay. Yep. Everybody smile, look this way and smile and wave. Hold your hand up. Use all of your fingers this time. Okay, so my request is that we're going to take this. We're going to archive this call later this afternoon. We're going to put the show notes as well as the poll results in a blog post on our website under Manufacturing News Network. We're going to link that blog post in both Facebook and LinkedIn. And my request is that you share what your favorite part of this call was on LinkedIn. Just put it down in the notes. Say like it, and comment what your favorite part about this call was. Because I'm pretty excited. I don't know about you guys, but this has really got me fired up. I am excited to be, helping in some way, at least provide a platform so that you guys can get together and talk. And the next call again that we'll try to keep it a little more open so we can have a little more dialogue so folks can share about what they're doing. But if you got things that you would like to share with this group on our Relaunch and Retool Georgia program, let us know. We're always, we're open to bring that to the table. So it has been an awesome day. I'm going to just, if you guys are open for it, we'll go for like 4 more minutes, and each of you guys have an opportunity to share real quick vocally what your favorite part was. Pierre, what's your favorite part about the call today?
Well, I think just sharing information. Right. I mean, this is the opportunity we have to actually find out what other people are doing.
Yep.
To your point, both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's best practice. Even if it's a failure, you learn from it. So
bingo.
Keep it going. I
love it. Great. Fantastic. All right. Ryan, favorite part about today?
Get unmuted. I enjoyed Holly's insight. So getting a look at what's happening within their business, and of course the best practices on what they're doing to keep everything flowing smoothly. So it's good for everybody to hear.
Sweet. Love it. Holly, what's your favorite part about today?
I really enjoyed talking to people I'm not related to for the last week.
Adults with all their clothes.
That's really good. Yeah, I mean, gosh. No, it's just been great to be a part of this. I really miss networking, and I miss being with folks. And I really appreciated the opportunity to share today and, have this discussion. There's lots of good things to think about. So I'm glad everybody was here.
We appreciate all your input for sure. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
All right, Miss LD, what's your favorite part about today?
I like seeing in the chat notes everybody's willingness to help to be a part of the future guidelines. We talked a little bit about yesterday when you have everybody on the same page and communicating those guidelines, not just to your employees or the vendors, even your customers, that is going to take people's anxiety level down, because they're going to see this same practice. And I think that being put in place and everybody's willingness, and Justin's, talking about even bringing things, tighter into, our Georgia group here. Yep. So that in the future that we aren't left hanging. I thought that was really, really good stuff. So yeah, that's what I enjoyed.
Fantastic. Thanks. All right, Mr. Justin.
Sorry, I made you make sure I'm safe. Yeah, I mean, just the whole networking portion of it. We've already reached out to a lot of people, for supplies and from you guys that we're unaware of, and especially in today's time, not knowing how to get in touch with certain people for certain supplies. I mean, it's been tremendous for us, and we greatly appreciate that.
Cool. Speaking of that, I had somebody reach out to me today. They said they got 1 million masks on the dock ready to go. So I'm going to verify those, figure out what they look like, and that they're surgical masks, but they're not the N95. So, and they supposedly got like 1 million more on the way next week. So we'll see. I know that manufacturers are may have a need for those. So I just want to, I have heard a lot of people said that they got some on the way. I have yet to see a box of them. So we'll we'll verify that a little bit and let you know sort of how that shakes out. So if you have a specific need for those, let us know, and we'll see if we're going to be playing matchmaker. You know.
Yeah, the supply with the challenge with the supply chain is when your normal order point hits and you find out there's a shortage of whatever that product was. You're going, well, crud! Now's when I'm needing it. So it's a challenge.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Cool. All right, Mike McShane.
You're on mute, Mike.
I got you.
And what I appreciate, like Pierre and the other comments about other aspects, whether it be office and retail, but I think what's great about all this is people need to start thinking about their facility, because that's the business I'm in. How all this is going to affect your facility into your process within the facility. Like Pierre had mentioned, the office market. Well, if there's going to be more distancing in office, there are going to be people moving at home. But problem are elevators. How many? And I had an elevator maintenance contractor tell me that one problem they have is people spraying disinfectant on the buttons. He said, this isn't a submarine. You can't put water on those buttons. So going into mid-rise and high-rise buildings is going to be a whole different world. And hopefully what I hear in that world, I can help translate to the single-story manufacturing world. So I'm excited to be involved with your campaign here, Jason, as far as this idea and certification.
Cool. Appreciate you being part of it for sure. All right, Mr. Ryan. Ryan Carter.
Oh, sorry. I've already gone.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. I got everybody's moving around, and I have like this process, and it just got shot to crap. Michelle Murphy. Sorry about that. Thanks, Ryan. I have a visual process, and as people drop off, it just gets like Tetris, and it's
yeah. Just everybody being willing to help one another and learn the process, and then take those processes off to somewhere else. And I'm willing to help with the certification process. If you whatever you need with that, verify places, those kind of things. I mean, I'm in sales, so it's a two-edged sword. It helps get me out there, but at the same time, it's out there for serving a purpose and to show that, we really do care about getting things back up and running, but to do it the proper way, not just to say, okay, we're running again, but we really care about the safety of people coming in, going out, those kind of things, because, that's going to be a constant battle, and you don't know what people are doing with, with their time once they clock out or once they leave the job premises. So you don't know where they've been. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks, Michelle. All right,
I'm
Mr.
here
Haddon.
to help.
Okay, we'll put you to work. Stand by. All right, Mr. Haddon.
Being able to know that business continues, because when you watch the media, it makes it seem like everything is shut down.
Right.
Is just good to know. I think you're right on target with coming up with some kind of supply chain. I know that we teach it. We teach it in tech schools. We teach it in college. We teach it in grad school. But in a practical way, somebody who can go in and help facilitate supply chain understanding and validation for especially the small and medium-sized businesses is really got value.
Cool. I appreciate that.
I think the benefit that I see overall is there is so much talk about the possibility of a repeat of this cycle this winter or next spring. Viruses just don't disappear completely. And it tends to have various degrees of impact around the world. So some of these measures will be in effect for a long time. And being able to help come up with a simple checklist, a standard that can be shared with companies to remind them, to refresh them, can be a real valuable tool for you.
Cool. So I'm a word guy. I like playing with words, and I own like 300 domain names. That's when my ADD kicks in at 3:00 in the morning. And but anyway, but what do you guys think about supply chain survival guide?
You're talking to an old Green Beret. I like it.
Cool. That's kind of where we're leaning.
It flows off the tongue.
Yeah, I love it. It. So we got some work to do. All right, Miss Koki.
Oh, I like the different viewpoints, like Pierre came up with the office space, less people means you need more space. I also liked Holly's mention about what are the employees doing outside of work, which is what Michelle was saying as well. And your openness to listen to your members, and somebody says, hey, let's come up with a checklist for our members regarding best practices during this pandemic. You listened and put it out for vote. I think that's really great. Thanks.
Cool. I appreciate that. All right. We had Neil. Neil, are you with us?
I am. I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Tell us who you're with.
I'm with the Batics here in Swanee, Georgia. I've been debating and talking with you folks for quite a while and getting involved in the association, and realize now more than ever that that particular sector is important to our business, and we're important to it. What's happening now, and I put some notes in there earlier, is that we're seeing a big shift from third-party disinfecting to bringing those services in-house, because long-term it's just not sustainable having third parties disinfecting these properties.
Right.
There's no reason why it can't be done in-house, and we're seeing a big shift right.
Are we there? I think I just lost everybody. Is everybody okay? You're back. Sorry about that.
So supporting those companies that are doing the disinfecting of properties, but again, now the big shift is that it's going institutional. Just
right.
Not sustainable to spend the amount of money it takes to disinfect the properties in the long run, because this is our new normal.
Right. Yeah.
As a group and as business owners, we all need to shift to that new normal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I fit into the whole picture.
Cool.
But I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this conversation.
Good deal. We're glad to have you online with us, and I'm sure we'll be chatting more soon. Feel free to give us a call here at the office. We'll be here most of the day. And LD, I'm still waiting on you. I got a delivery bonus just whenever you get around to it. Just saying. We're getting closer and closer to Friday.
Yeah, you'll see me. Actually, you'll see me tomorrow. I have a 6:30 install in the morning, so I was gonna.
Okay.
Is moonshine too early at 7:30?
Breakfast moonshine is always good.
Just checking.
You gotta support all of our Georgia.
The weekend starts early tomorrow.
Exactly. We're starting at 8:00, baby. All right, guys. Well, it has been awesome being on this call with you guys today. I really appreciate everybody's participation and engagement and ideas. I mean, that's why we're doing this stuff, is we want to support you any way that we can. And let us know if there's anything that we could be doing that could better serve you. Please let us know what that is, and we'll see how we can implement it. Again, Justin, thank you so much for your leadership and your commitment to step up and help. Koki, you are a rock star, girl. You're making us look genius as always for take care of these notes and stuff. And with that, guys, thanks again. It's been a great day at GMA. We'll look forward to seeing you. 4:00 tomorrow, we have Fun Friday. It's a bring your own bottle thing. If you want to bring a bottle, you can bring a bottle of water if you'd like, or anything else. And it's just a social hour. We just hang out and chat, and it's absolutely no agenda. We will share the Funny Friday memes that we have collected throughout the week. If you have some you'd like to share that are semi-G rated, PG rated, PG-13, feel free to shoot them over, and we'll see if we can get them listed in the stack. But with that, again, another great day at GMA. We'll see you guys at upcoming events. Thanks, guys. See you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.